Welcome to Masculine Journey. We are a little bit down in numbers today. Well, at around the microphone, we're down in numbers. We've got about 7 people here, but there's just 4 of us sitting around the microphones
Good
today.
math. Good math.
Yeah, I had to use my fingers. I just tried to not to put them on the video so people wouldn't see it. But we are continuing our series that we're working on. And Andy, you want to remind us what this series is?
Well, we call it foundations, and it's our foundational beliefs or what we, just what we've experienced through our wild at heart, our masculine journey. Just those those ideas, those topics, if you will, of just what plays into the foundation or our faith, but also an expanded faith that we have come into understanding with the wild at heart message.
Okay, that's a way to say it.
Yeah, I know, probably not exactly what you want.
That's a way. Thank you. Robbie, how would you phrase that?
I would say that, if you buy the Wild at Heart book,
Yeah.
it's going to follow certain key premises in order to help you develop a better relationship with God and a better relationship with others. And
Understanding yourself more too.
right, as you get a chance to take a look at God, the closer you get to the real thing of what a man is, you can begin to see where you have some room for improvement. And so, one of those areas we're certainly going to talk about tonight.
Yeah. And so I'll add to what you guys have said. And Wild at Heart is a big part of what we do in the ministry of Masculine Journey. It's not the only thing, right? We're going to use a clip tonight from one of the other people who had a big impact on us, which is John Lynch, out west somewhere. I can't remember where he's at.
Arizona?
Is he Arizona? I was thinking Arizona, but I couldn't remember for sure. But there's been lots of pieces that go into it. Yes, John Eldridge's ministry and the things they've done through Wild at Heart has had the biggest impact, second to the Bible. Second to the Bible.
We're not supplanting the Bible. We're not one of those ministries. It's foundational, all of it. What I see Wild at Heart as being is there's teaching that's referenced in the Bible. It's a way of helping you understand the Bible in a deeper way and how it applies to you. The message is all there. It's just like the idea of, a lot of the brokenness we have comes from, Genesis 3. And it's going back to Genesis 3 and helping us understand how we in humanity have got things messed up. And there is a way that God restores it. Of course, it's through Jesus, but that's usually the start of it. Then Jesus takes you on through the rest of the process to truly experience healing.
Yeah, and in this foundation series, we're laying out the foundations of our ministry, the things that we believe to be truths that we've seen God work in our lives, right? And the things that we want to share because we've seen the power in what God's done. And so through the series, we'll use things from Wild at Heart, we'll use things from boot camp, we'll use different things along the way. We're going to use one today from a talk that John Lynch did at the Navigators, which is quite awesome. It's on YouTube. We'll play that here in a little bit, but it'd be worth your listen. It's about 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. Not the greatest audio recording on it. There's a lot of buzz in it, but it is quite powerful. Yeah. Right. And so what do we stand for? What's the beliefs behind what we do? And what are we trying to do? We're trying to help others become more intimate with Christ. Yeah. Right. That, to walk more fully with the Father. Yeah. Right? And because that's what we're trying to do. And so that's kind of the nutshell what our ministry is.
If you go to a church page and they say, what do we believe?
Yeah.
A lot of that is totally, there's those things, virgin birth, death and resurrection of Jesus,
the
Holy Spirit, all those things. We could also, maybe we should do something like this on the website. It's like those things like poser, what we're going to talk about tonight. Just jump into that. That all goes back to the Genesis 3, and what we believe is that man began to hide himself from God because of his shame and his nakedness, and how to become real before God. It's a part of the Bible, and it's all in there. But part of it is the Bible says that you have to go after this stuff. You have to investigate it for yourself. You have to seek out these things. And John Eldridge did a great job of laying it out of the heart of man and how to recover your heart.
Yeah, and we are talking about the poser. Today. And so what a poser is, and there's lots of ways to explain it, and I'm sure others will jump in here, but a way you can explain it is when you're less than your authentic self in front of people in order to try to deceive them. to try to make them think something different of you than what is different than the truth. And you guys can add to that if you want, but that's a pretty simple term, and it's not always necessarily something malicious, right? It's just I try to put up a false front so you won't really know who I am at my core because I'm trying to hide something I'm ashamed about, right? Doesn't mean you're supposed to have shame on it, but it's something that I feel like, and the enemy's been pressing on me that I got to hide.
Yeah.
And so the first clip, I'm going to use my clip.
Well, I'm going to jump in just a bit.
Yeah.
That when you say that you intend to deceive, if you yourself don't even know you're doing it, I don't know that you have the intent to deceive necessarily. Because a lot of times I know I'm posing, and I'm doing that because I intend to deceive, obviously. But there's other times I have no clue, and my intent's not necessarily involved. But they both end up in the same place. That obviously, if there's a mask involved, people aren't seeing what's really there. And not only that, who I'm pretending to be is getting all either the love, hate, or whatever else is going around, and I'm not really experiencing life.
I mean, when Adam stitched together or whatever the fig leaves for the covering, I'm not sure he felt that there was a breakdown between God and there was shame that came in, but I don't think he really understood why, or why he even felt like he needed to cover himself. I don't know.
Right.
It's
and a lot of times we don't.
We don't. Exactly. That was the point. Is we just don't know why we do what we do sometimes.
Yeah, and so we're going to use the first clip, which is from John Lynch, from the Talk with the Navigators. And in this segment, he's talking about this topic of masks. And mask is when you put on something, a false front, right? We're going to call it the poser. He's talking about mask. It's really the same thing, but what is behind that? And so I'm going to let him explain it because he does a much better job than we do.
As early as we can remember, we have performed for acceptance. If I'm good enough, if I'm talented, diligent, beautiful, together enough, right, correct enough, I will be loved and accepted and blessed and happy. And if not, I will be rejected and receive a lousy life. You better put on a good face. You better act like you're somebody different than who you actually happen to be. No matter how you feel, you better put on a good show. So doggone it, just be better than who you are, for goodness sake. Don't be a whiner, fix yourself, try harder, do more, be better, don't have so many problems, watch over your shoulder, keep up appearances, get better in a hurry, and if you can't, act like you are. Because you are constantly on trial, it is genetically wired into us since the fall. We learn early on how to perform, how to do the dance. The highest value is being accepted, and it appears the means of that acceptance on this planet is performance. And performance is hard because I fail. Another result of the fall is the assumption that nobody else fails quite like me. Isn't that right? I assume that you guys have it together and that I'm failing in a particular, unique, singular way. And so I live with the awareness of just how poorly I know I'm doing. And so I must be unfit, I must be unworthy, I must be unlovable, I must be unable. And now I'm naked. I'm scared. I don't want to be, but I am. Now I know that nobody must know. I've got a posture, I've got to present myself. I've got to mask myself with enough reason to be loved. I must brag, I've got to put others down, I've got to pretend that I'm more than I am, I've got to idealize myself, I've got to posture and mask. And so I do the dance and I put on the mask.
There's a lot of words in there. I really like John and the way he puts things, because as he talks, I just think about times in my life that I felt that way. It's not every day consciously, it's not every moment of every day, but there's definitely been seasons or events that I've really felt that way, that I could not be myself in front of people, that I needed to put on a mask and feel different. And I guess part of the question, you guys talk about, but I'll ask this question in a minute, but what's wrong with that? What's really wrong with putting on a mask? But from John's little part of that talk, what from there spoke to you guys?
Well, people, when you put on a mask, they love the mask and not you. Mm-hmm. And then where's that authentic love? And really, when I was thinking about it, that's the same thing that happened to Adam. Is he felt like it was broken between, and he didn't receive God's love, but he put on a mask, maybe to make the shame go away so God would love him again, maybe. And I think it's funny that God takes his fig leaf and gives him, kills an animal and covers him in that, which to me is more of the sacrifice. I'll provide your solution here, and it would be Jesus later on. But it's just that whole thing of people don't really know you. They don't really love you of who you really are, the essence of who you are. It's who you want them to think you are.
Right. What about you, Robbie?
Well, the clip that I was thinking about as I listened to that was, the genius of Shrek, right? In the particular scene that we play this clip quite often, that he has rescued the beauty and he's wearing this helmet, which is covering his face, and it's a mask, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because she doesn't know at this point in time that he's an ogre, but he doesn't know that she's an ogre, right? And so she's wearing a mask. If you're familiar with the movie, underneath this beautiful exterior is an ogre, and he looks like an ogre. And she, when she realizes he's an ogre, like, this is all wrong. This can't be right. I can't be, connected to an ogre. And of course, he doesn't see that he fits in and is perfect. It's exactly the way every marriage works.
Mm-hmm.
That it is, because my wife, when I think about it, that, she had no idea my struggles with pornography and all that. And she had me up on a pedestal in ministry, that Robbie's all this, right? And so the mask got all the love. Not, and she was under the illusion that I was Prince Charming when really ogre. Okay. and when the mask came off and she actually was able to forgive me and realize who I really am, then that forgiveness was unbelievably precious to me, because then actually I was being accepted for who I really was and being loved for who I was. And, it's all the difference in the world.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk more about this topic, obviously, but why do you not want to pose? What's wrong with that? One of those is that you don't get the love, you don't get the true essence of a relationship. We'll talk to you about that after the break. Go to masculinejourney.org to register for the boot camp coming up in November.
Here are the contest rules for the Truth Network. Prizes won are not transferable, redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other prize. All prizes must be redeemed for the station within 30 days of winning. Only one prize per household from any station of Truth Broadcasting within any 30-day period. The rest of our contest rules are listed under the About Us link at our website, truthnetwork.com. Thanks for playing and listening to the Truth Network.
Hallelujah. Oh, praise my soul. God really loves us.
Yes, God really loves us. But for a lot of people, our attachment to the past outweighs our commitment to the future. We have to stop looking back and start looking forward. The Truth Network encourages you to forget the past, face it, and move on with the love of Jesus Christ.
There's a hope that's waiting for you in the dark. And though you're beautiful, just the way you are. And you don't have to change a thing, to change its heart. No scars, you're beautiful. The stars are beautiful. And you don't have to change a thing, to change its heart. No scars, you're beautiful.
Welcome back to Masculine Journey. And so you can listen to that bump and go, what in the world does that have to do with talking about poser? And if you don't know the lyrics, I'm not going to read them to you, which I normally do. I'm just going to tell you the premise of the
There's
lyrics.
a time to read lyrics, and there's a time not to read.
Exactly. But she's singing about there's scars. Your scars make you beautiful. And the problem is we try to hide them to a world that says that you're ugly because you have them. But we all have them. And so it's a really cool secular song that really points to a real truth that God made you uniquely the way he made you for you, right? And your scars that you have that make you who you are. And it's in those moments that others can be brought closer to God when you share that with them, right? And so part of the problem with posing, if you're not authentic in front of people, they live in that trap that John Lynch was talking about, that I must be the only one failing because everybody else seems to have it together. When the truth is, no one really has it together.
That's it.
And it's hard to relate to the perfect guy.
Yeah. I mean,
And the enemy uses that quite a bit too, because he gets you into comparing, and social media is horrible for that, where you look at everybody and think they have the great life or whatever, and you just have to do or be who God created you to be. But it's hard because we are conditioned to impress.
we are, and part of that whole thing of being authentic in front of people is, well, let me say it this way. Rob, you said you don't relate. I always struggled when I went to a church where the pastor didn't share personal stories of where they're challenged. Right. I've always responded much better to a pastor who talks about their failures, because I can relate to failures, right? Because I feel them all the time. I try my best not to have them, but I have them, right? And to know that other people that try to walk, strongly with God have them as well gives me hope, right? It's the opposite effect of what people think it's going to do.
Yeah.
And so it's always great to share those things.
And I love the picture that is painted sometimes that, the mask originally was this picture of putting wax in the cracks, right? That you saw the scars, so to speak, you put wax in there to hide them. However, when you melt the wax out of there, then light can shine, right? God's light shines through those cracks, because then God is the hero of the story, not Robbie, not Sam, not Andy. But, if we actually, as Paul said, if we boast in our weaknesses, and he's made strong, right? And that's the deal.
Yeah, well, we're going to move on to your clip, Robbie. And so we're going to go from a very, very good movie. If you haven't seen this movie, it is quite amazing. It's one you got to stay engaged in. It took me a couple times trying to watch it, honestly, but I loved it when I did watch it.
Trying to get in the camera. It's hard to camerize yourself. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't even but
That sounds wrong somehow.
Yourself.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's an amazing movie. And the point that God was making for me through it was that quite often you don't know where you're really not being authentic. You don't know, because the deal is sometimes your pose works for you. And you are getting traction with it, that it becomes second nature, and you don't even know you're doing it. Right?
Did I say the name of the movie? I don't know.
The King's Speech.
Okay.
It's also the name of the clip.
Yeah.
So in this particular movie, it's about King Charles. This was the king that was king of England at the time of World War II, right at the beginning of the war. And he, unfortunately, his brother abdicated the throne, and he didn't see it coming that he would be king. And he didn't necessarily feel that he was, gifted to do it, because of this stammering problem, that he felt like he couldn't speak. That based on some child abuse, actually, from his child, that you find out through the movie. And that's a true story. So this man comes from Australia, who is actually a very, very gifted speech therapist, who had worked on all these people that had come out of World War I, that had been gassed, and all this crazy stuff that happened in the trenches. And he begins to work with him, but he's not a doctor. He's just an experienced therapist. And so when the king finds out that, essentially he didn't have this background, then all of a sudden he began to get this picture that Satan painted, that, he's just using me as a star pupil to make a name for himself. And he accuses the therapist of being the poser, which is funny about the thing. He's accusing him of being a fraud. So what the therapist does, to me, is genius. He sits down in the throne. I'm like, they're in the throne room of England, right? And he sits down on the king's throne. And when he does, you can hear kind of.
That's a capital offense too, right?
It is. The king will get his voice.
Here we go.
Lock me in the tower. I would, if I could. On what charge? Fraud. With war looming, you've saddled this nation with a voiceless king. You've destroyed the happiness of my family, all for the sake of ensnaring a starved patient you couldn't possibly hope to assist. It'll be like mad King George III. Mad King George the Stammerer, who let his people down so badly in their hour of need What do you do? Get up. You can't sit there. Get up.
Why not? Chair.
No, that is not a chair. That is St. Edward's chair.
People have
That
carved their names on it.
chair is the seat on which every king
It's held in
and
place
queen.
by a large rock.
That is the stone of scorn. You are trivializing
you
everything. You listen to me.
Listen to you, by what right?
My divine right, if you must. I am your king.
No, you're not. You told me so yourself. You said you didn't want it. Why should I waste my time listening?
Because I have a right to be.
No,
And I
it's
have a voice.
Yes, you do. You have such perseverance, Bertie. You're the bravest man I know. You make a bloody good king.
Yeah, it's beautiful, a beautiful, amazing scene in a great movie that clearly, when put under pressure, the man can speak and he has a voice and he should be heard. As he's got great values, and you see that through the movie. But he wasn't aware that part of his deal was it was opposed. The reason why I used it is where I really struggle and where I feel like you can get the most traction with this particular part of our message and our fundamentals is that the worst pose that you can make is the one where you're posing to God. And again, you don't know that you're posing to God. You don't know that you're not being authentic. But beautifully, we don't want to leave you without hope. That God dismantles you. We did a show on dismantling, disrupting, and he will disrupt your pose because he knows you're doing it. Just like that person in church, when you ask them how they're doing, they got this look on their face like the world's coming to an end. Oh, I'm fine. Are you? And once you begin to walk in this message and you can really help people, you're not trying to embarrass him or anything else. You're just digging a little deeper, like what's really going on, because you really care. And God does too. And because of that, he disrupts you, but be prepared, right? To realize that, oh my gosh, there's certain things that I am not completely comfortable, in God's presence. And honestly, I had a remarkable experience this morning where I was praying. And when I went to the throne of grace boldly in complete authenticity, Jesus starts wrestling with me. Like, I'm serious. He puts me in a headlock. And I'm like, what's up with this? And he was just playing. He was just playing. Why? He was exposing how tight I was. He was exposing that this was very stiff and this wasn't a father and son. Like, you know how it is when your dad puts you in a headlock and gives you a Snuggie or whatever. It's just part of what, what's supposed to be there. But it was just remarkable to me. And I won't ever forget actually what happened. It was this morning.
That you're still the boy.
Yeah, you were still a boy and he still wants to play and he still wants to have fun. And Robbie, you're showing up at the throne and you're tight. And so what would you do with your son if he showed up like that? Like, come on, loosen up, Robbie. And God's going to do that. And it's the most remarkable thing.
Wedgie.
Yeah, holy nookies.
Yeah.
No, you're exactly right that you would do that with your child or someone you love, is you would try to dig in somehow and get them out of that place, right? To get them into a place of authenticity that they may not really see that they're not showing it at the time.
Right.
But we've got just a couple more minutes in this segment. Is there anything you'd like to leave with people before we go to the after hours and do that? If you don't know what the after hours is that you haven't heard, you'd have to go to our podcast location to get that, which is any podcast location or masculinejourney.org. That's a great place to get it there because all of our podcasts are there as well. But anything you want to leave with them on the posing? The one thing I would add, the one thing that the posing keeps you from doing, if God put you on this place uniquely as you to be you in this world, to show this world a piece of him that only you bring, right? That's what we believe to be true.
Yep.
That we're all made in God's image uniquely, in his image, and something specifically he had designed with you in mind when he put you on this earth to bring to this world to show them a vision of him, right? And if I'm not authentic, how are they going to see the true me?
I mean, it goes back to that scripture about, are you going to hide your light with a bushel?
Right.
That's what you're doing with that. I just sitting here thinking about that. That is a form of posing.
Yes.
Of your being
bushel
afraid.
mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being afraid of the glory that
Bushel
God's
head.
put on you. We do. We digress.
So if that had a mask, now that I'm like,
Sorry, Andy, you were trying to make
No wonder I posed.
Well, yeah, we beat you into submission on these things.
I think another thing though is the pose typically ties back to something in your past, particularly a lot of times in your childhood, some kind of wound, some kind of thing. I mean, I was a hider as a kid. I can remember getting up and singing a Christmas play, and for whatever reason, I was young, but you're really too young to really be embarrassed. But for whatever reason, I was, and I ran out to the audience, and those things stick with you. And I've always struggled with being in front of people and that kind of thing. But I want to let God's glory in the way He created me to show more than I want to stay in that place of comfort. So
yeah,
that's dealing with the poser.
And as you kind of alluded to there, that often we find that at boot camp we do the poser talk and we do the wound talk. It's always in that sequence. The pose does come out of the wound most times.
Right. Yeah.
Right. There's something painful that you're not wanting to deal with. You're not wanting people to see, and so you hide from it.
Yeah.
Right. And so it goes much, much deeper than what you see on the surface. But go to masculinejourney.org to register for the upcoming boot camp, November 20th through 23rd. Masculinejourney.org. We'll talk to you next week. Sorry, Andy, we got you derailed there.
that was fun though.
Yeah.
Pushing ahead.
I wouldn't let it go like a dog with a bone.
No, I loved it. I mean, it really is exactly right.
Yeah.
That and your point to the, there it is, your glory,
yeah,
which is that light, and you put that mask on, and there's no way people can see it. And usually, it has to do with overcoming something that was clearly a failure on
a message that the enemy gave you.
Yeah.
To make you go on hiding.
Stuff to hide in,
right? A basket, a bushel.
not come forward.
So we'll put, which one of your clips do you want to use first? You have a preference?
I guess strike.
Okay. Come on, Lee Harvey.
Big toe. Come on, Lee Harvey.
Gotta get Lee Harvey in.
You gotta get some Lee Harvey in there. Well, we'll probably use them both, Andy. Probably use them both in the after hours.
What else you have left of them?
We just have Groundhog Day, which we've used.
What year was Stripes made?
Early 80s. 81, 82, maybe, well, it may have been 78, 79. Somewhere in there.
What's Bill Murray's character in there? What's his name?
I don't remember.
You got Sergeant Holka, Lee
Yeah.
Harvey,
Lee Harvey and Psycho, Francis, and Ox, which is
John Candy.
John Candy. Oxenberger, I think his name is. Or something like that.
I'm trying to think that Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. That movie was
1981.
Okay.
1981, so it was 18 years later. Perfect timing for Lee Harvey.
Yeah, that should be a name.
Somebody right about the time of
true,
assassination,
Yeah.
they named their kid Lee Harvey. Like, what kind of a...
Yeah. This is my brother Adolf.
What was that guy's name, Ramus, that was with him?
Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
He had that kind of sense of humor. He wrote
Yeah.
that in there.
Oh,
Like, that had to be something that
Yeah.
Lee Harvey...
Harold Ramis was
Bill
quite funny.
Murray's character's name is John Wiener.
Oh, that's right. Because Hulk always screams Winger. Yeah.
Yeah, we remember the big toe.
Yeah.
It's a great. But you cut out we don't hear from Holka because he says, all right, what does he call him?
Oh, well, I like clip. Well, let's see. We got
That was somebody else that cut it. I just copied it over.
But I mean,
Yeah,
at the end, Holka says something to him.
Yeah.
Okay, hot shot. Yeah, that's it. Okay, hot shot.
Yeah, well, he has it in there. Let's see what kind of soldier you're, Mike. It says it at the very end of this clip. That guy, whoever cast him as Sergeant Hulka did a perfect job.
Oh, he was Sergeant Holka.
Yeah.
Well, the whole, that movie was iconic from my
Oh, yeah.
perspective. those, you know, the colonel or whatever he was,
Oh yeah, John Larroquette was that guy.
shenanigans are like
Oh, yeah.
first order, and you know, then when that other colonel or whatever he was, when they were, you know, where have you been, Sergeant?
Training, sir.
And that whole scene is like, where's your drill sergeant? Blown up, sir.
What kind of training? Army training, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody can pull that off, but Bill Murray.
Yeah. Yeah. He was classic in that for sure. It's a Bill Murray day. We got a couple Bill Murray clubs.
Robert Redford
Yeah,
died today.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
He had to be in his 90s though.
yeah, he was.
Like early 90s.
Or maybe it was 89. So.
Yeah, it was 89.
Was it?
It was. He was 89. But one of the guys from SJS came out of the studio and said, "What was your favorite Robert Redford movie?" Let's see if you guys could guess it.
River runs through it.
Yeah, no brainer.
I mean, he's not in
And
it, but he did.
He
Yeah,
directed
he
it.
is. He's a narrator.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was the title?
River runs through it. The trout fishing movie.
Yeah.
And
I like The Natural.
Natural was good. Butch Cassidy and Ned Skid was good.
I need to go back and watch it.
The Horse Whisperer.
Horse Whisperer was
Oh,
really good.
man.
I like that
was
one.
really good. I tell you what, that get some guys to tears because we were talking about
Some guy.
surrender. Yeah, I'm sorry. Some guys up at boot camp
Just random.
in Ohio.
Oh, they were watched up there.
They used it for basically surrender and how taking the horse down like that to get it, and that's what God has to do sometimes to take us down. You remember that? Weren't you there?
I don't think so.
The other one? You didn't. You didn't go to.
They used their own movie clips?
No, this I believe came. This was Becoming a King, and I think Morgan had it as part of his deal.
Really?
Yep. And you go back. I guess I'm thinking about Joe Kinsel. He was there with me, and it ripped him up too. Just because you start realizing that you're the horse or whatever.
When's the next Saturday thing? I haven't seen it
You know what? I haven't either. I haven't seen any emails for that.
in the last few months.
And it's kind of changing. Josh has started to insert himself back in and leading more stuff now. You know, his wife asked him to step away, and I guess, he got through his. I know, but I think he was just so busy with school. She asked him to step away for the family and stuff, and I guess his time was freed up for that.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I just haven't seen.
I'll ask him tomorrow. I'm on with those.
Yeah, because I'd like to get back on Saturdays.
I haven't seen.
Oh, that reminds me. A week from Saturday, anybody wants to see Nikita, he's going to do a luncheon at Kildee.
I
at our church.
I think I saw that.
Oh, I'd like to see.
I'll be out of town, but I want to see him again. And
So that's
see him a while.
and they're bringing in good barbecue. I forget from where, but a really good barbecue place, and it's going to be.
Is he bringing it with him?
No,
Oh,
we're
you're doing
at
it?
the church is catering it,
Yeah.
but it's going to be at 1:00 because I got to finish my show and get to Ramseur. But if you guys are in the neighborhood, since she lives not far from them, come on down.
Yeah.
See Nikita.
Yeah, I'd like to see Nikita.
Yeah, they had a big Zoom call last night for the man camp coming up.
We need to reach back out to Matt Popovich.
I'll be on with him tomorrow. See if he's coming to boot camp.
Who's Matt Popovich?
He's a guy from the Ohio group that now lives in Georgia. He runs the Saturday thing most of the time.
Yeah, I'll have to ask him about that.
I saw Bill.
They may
Hitchcock.
have put it on. They may have put it at the end of the summer or whatever. They may have just
It may have been summer.
bringing it back.
Oh, you saw Bill?
Yeah, he's coming.
Yeah.
Um,
And Mike Foles is sending 2 guys like he did last time. I don't know if it's the same 2 guys because last time he sent Corey and Terry's son, Kevin. But he
That'd be good because I haven't heard much out of Kevin or
Corey either one.
or honestly Terry.
No. We got about a minute till we go back on. A little over a minute. Rodney, you got anything to share on posing? No. Let's go pose your way through it.
Works well.
Yeah, I love Posey Wales.
Yeah. That works. Put your bushel on your head. Old bushel head over there. Told you to try to be serious and just still.
It was a good one. It was, well, I'm just singing my vacation Bible. Hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it show.
We don't do things like mention Danny. He's been on here telling about his illness.
We can. I don't know how much to share.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
Maybe wait a week.
Yeah, we'll probably wait.
Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours, a time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
You know, I don't know how many clocks. Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. I don't know how many clocks we have to have in there that we can look at, and I still am surprised when the music starts playing to start the show. So if you're watching the video feed, you saw us jump, you know, to
After hours,
Yeah.
things get dark.
It does. It does.
Not
It's not
quite
as
like
clear.
the art jump though. Whenever
Oh,
he was,
no.
when he was
Oh, I
playing
got
the
told.
previous week's show, and
Oh,
we thought
yeah.
it was the music coming on.
that was a good one.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
Yeah, that got us good. That was probably the most we jumped on anything. But welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We are continuing our foundation series, and we'll be in it for a while. So you hear us say that for a little while until God takes us to another thing he wants us to do. But right now we're in the middle of our foundation series, and we're really just talking about the core beliefs of the ministry, the things that have given us life, that's drawn us closer to Jesus, that's got our walk more intimate with him, and led us into truths about ourselves and things like that, and things that have had impacted our lives and hopefully the lives of our families, you know, that are different because of the things God has brought to us through these fundamental things. And so that's really kind of what we're exploring and digging into and talking about again.
All right, and this we didn't talk about it because we hadn't gone deeper yet.
Yeah.
Once the poser digs deep into identity,
Mm-hmm.
right, and as you guys brought out so beautifully that, you know, we're made in God's image, and that's deep in our identity. But if you put any kind of cover over your true identity, who you were meant to be, then you literally rob all the world of what God wanted to reveal through you.
Right. Right. And you don't do it knowingly lots of times, or you don't understand why you do it if it is knowingly that you do it. But it usually comes from a place of hurt in the past, that the enemy has saw you try to rise up and you've gotten wounded in that area, and you've made this agreement to say, I'm never going to do that again. And so you put this pose in front of it to hide. You know, and that stuff we'll talk about in upcoming weeks. We'll talk about wounds, we'll talk about agreements and how they all tie together. There is a theme that kind of works through this, but they're all intertwined, and one leads upon the next. And so we're just continuing to unpack the poser and why we shouldn't do that, or do our best to try to get away from that. And what do we gain when we walk in our true identity? You know, and we talked about some of that last show, and Robbie, you talked about, and Andy talked about the love that you actually get to feel from other people, because they're not just loving who they think you are, they're loving who you are. Right. And so how powerful is that to know, wow, they know my warts, they know everything about me that's bad, and they still choose to love me.
Yeah.
It's so much better than they love me because they think this.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
And so, you know, when you talk about intimacy, and Robbie's favorite saying about breaking down intimacy is what?
Into me, see.
Exactly. Right. And so when you have intimacy, you have to let people in to see you.
Yeah.
for who you are. And so, Andy, we get to your clip, one of your clips. And so this is from a really funny movie that we've all enjoyed in our youth and Harold's middle age. He can't talk for himself right now. His voice is going out, so we just got to pick it up. But anyway, if you want to tell us a little bit about it.
So this is kind of a boot camp Army in the barracks, just talking, and you've got a leader, Sergeant Honka, and then you got John Winger, who is the Bill Murray character, who is basically probably the biggest poser in here. And then there's a reference to Lee Harvey, who he's kind of kidding with. And you got something, Robbie? I thought you were reaching for the mic.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm ready for
But
anticipation.
yeah, but you'll just see one guy's trying to rise up and act like he's a leader when he's really not a leader. But another thing is why I wanted to use this clip is last year, an example. I was hiding my glory of being able to work in the kitchen, and I was doing my best because we took on the kitchen duties last year. And at the end of it, Robbie was like, I should wait. You got to hear this. You got to hear this. I set that up. I cut it. I'll talk about it. But anyway, you'll just see the poser in here and the humor in it all. It speaks for itself, and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah, before I play it, if you do get a chance to watch Stripes, this whole scene is all a bunch of posers.
Right. Yeah.
There's a couple authentic people in there. You
Yeah.
pick them out, and you go, okay, that was at least authentic.
Yeah.
But it's mainly posers.
Yeah, it is. But we have to kind of keep it short. This is one section of it because it is rather long.
It is. Here we go.
It's not just the uniform. It's the stories that you tell. So much fun and imagination. Lee Harvey, you are a madman. When you stole that cow, I want to party with you, cowboy. The two of us together, forget it. I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to volunteer my leadership to this platoon. An army without leaders is like a foot without a big toe. And Sergeant Holka isn't always going to be there to be that big toe for us. I think that we owe a big round of applause to our newest, bestest buddy,
Poser,
and big toe, Sergeant Holka. Well, okay, hotshot. We're gonna see what kind of soldier you are.
But yeah, you get it. He was really posing. But yeah, Robbie just went on and on. I was helping out in the kitchen. I was really doing the French toast. Well, I've never done French toast.
He did.
And he just went on, and it was like, Lee Harvey, you're a madman with that French toast.
I want to party.
I want to party with you. And I was like, there it is. I just got rid of another pose, right? I'm in the kitchen.
It was so fun. It really was. It was a great time, right?
Yeah, you had to be there.
Yeah, in this scene from the movie, you get to really see Bill Murray's character. It has a desire to impress. He's already been in trouble with Sergeant Hawka a few times, and he's thinking, well, he can smooth things over and make things go easier. And Hawka sees right through it. And you can hear it in his laugh. It's like, you know that he's going to be getting it again. But that's part of that type of the poser that you have when you're knowingly doing it. You think that you're trying to deceive somebody into believing something that's not necessarily true about yourself. And so that's one version of it. And as Robbie pointed out, there's times you don't even know you're posing. In our last show, I'm going to play a clip of another Bill Murray scene, and this is when men most often pose, but he's somewhat posing here a little bit, but he's more gathering information so he can better pose.
Right. Yeah.
Would be a way to say
He's
it.
in reconnaissance right now.
He is. He's in recon, and so this is from Groundhog Day. It's Bill Murray. He's going to the diner with his producer, and he's wanting to know more about her, is what he tells her. But he's really wanting to try to date her, and not a very nice way. And so we're going to go ahead and play the clip and see where he kind of goes with it, and we'll talk more about it.
What are you looking for, Phil? A date for the weekend?
No, I'm just interested in you. You know, what do you want? What do you like? What do you think about? What kind of men are you interested in? What do you do for fun?
Is this for real, Phil, or are you just trying to make me look like a fool?
I'm just trying to talk like normal people talk. Isn't this how they talk?
Close.
Okay, so talk to me. Let me buy you a cup of coffee and a donut.
All right.
So what do you want out of life anyway?
I guess I want what everybody wants, you know, career, love, marriage, children.
Are you seeing anyone?
I think this is getting too personal. I don't think I'm ready to share this with you. How about you? What do you want?
What I really want is someone like you.
Oh, please.
Well, why not? What are you looking for? Who is your perfect guy?
Well, first of all, he's too humble to know he's perfect.
That's me.
He's intelligent, supportive, funny.
Intelligent, supportive, funny. Me.
He's romantic and courageous.
Me also.
He's got a good body, but he doesn't have to look in the mirror every 2 minutes.
I have a great body, and sometimes I go months without looking.
He's kind, sensitive, and gentle. He's not afraid to cry in front of me.
This is a man we're talking about, right?
He likes animals, children. He'll change poopy diapers.
Does he have to use the word poopy?
Oh, and he plays an instrument. He loves his mother.
I am really close on this one. Really close.
What I like about this movie, it's when you first watch this movie, you're like, okay, there's no redeeming value in it. It's just a silly fluff movie. It is really deep, quite honestly. It deals with the topic of trying to control your life and how you really don't have control. And in this, you know, he tries his best to pose to get her to love him, right? That's really what he becomes after. He even takes up playing a piano and he has to practice it so many times. Because in this movie, if you've never seen it, literally it's like 20 some years old. But Groundhog Day, he repeats the same day over and over, but he's the only one that knows that it's being repeated. So everybody wakes up and it's February 2nd, it's Groundhog Day every morning, but he knows what's happened the previous days before, no one else does.
And each day he progressively manipulates the situation for his benefit and adapts. He adapts to
He adapts to it. Yeah. And later on you see in the movie where he adapts his pose to really try to win her heart over. But in the movie, even though it is a movie, right, and you look at it, when does he actually win her heart?
When he becomes real.
When he's really authentic with who he is. He quits trying to do it and he just lives his life in the things that he can uniquely do.
When he stops being a groundhog.
That's right. That's right.
And lets his glory come out to where he's beneficial in helping people, not just trying to extract something from them.
Right. You know, in that movie, when he finally does win her heart over, right, and she's able to be there on February 3rd, you know, and he actually has a new day that arises with him and it happens with her, is when he quits worrying about what's good for him and focuses on what he can do to help others and to love on others, right? And then she sees that and falls in love with that, right? His authentic self. And that's a big part of it, that, you know, these times that we go and often men pose in front of women to try to pose, right? To make themselves look better.
But, you know, the beauty of that, and I love the genius of these, you know, you can't help but see God's handiwork in it. That she is posing too. She doesn't even know what she wants in a man. She thinks she wants this guy that she just described. But what it turns out at the end of the movie, you see somebody completely different. And again, you know, God knows all these things about us that we really don't know. And so we fumble our way thinking we know. But, you know, quite often, you know, therein lies the issue with pride, which is hard to believe and understand, that it is pride is the reason that we put a mask on when it would look like it's humility, but it's exactly the opposite, that the mask comes on because we're trying to hang on to our pride.
So we can stop acting.
Yeah. You know, we need to be our authentic self. We're going to play one more clip of a different view of posing. Then we're going to come back and talk more about posing and finish up with some conversation. But Andy, this clip is yours from a movie called Good Will Hunting, right?
Yep. So you got Will Hunting, that's this brainiac that's actually working as a janitor. He is hiding. And posing isn't always asserting yourself. It can actually be pulling back and not allowing your glory to rise. And that's what he's kind of done. He's this brainiac, and he's being a janitor. He doesn't want to step into that because some wounds from his past. And then you've got Chucky. He's the first guy, the Ben Affleck character that you hear, and he's schmoozing the women. He's obvious pose. And then you've got another guy there, this frat boy that tries to expose or try to pose and, you know, just talk down to people or whatever. But it's really a great scene. I mean, I call it the poser buffet because there's a lot of posing going on. And it's really easy to see as you walk through it in the different poses you see here. So.
Absolutely. And so we pick up with Chucky trying to talk to the women.
That's right.
Right, and try to impress them.
Exactly.
So here we go.
So I think I had a class with you.
Oh yeah? What kind?
History.
Maybe?
Yes, I think that's what it was. You don't necessarily might not remember me. You know, I like it here. It doesn't mean because I go here I'm a genius. I am very smart. Hey, how's it going? How are you?
How you doing?
I don't.
What class did you say that was?
History. Yeah.
Just history. How'd you like that course?
You know, frankly, I found the class, rather elementary.
Elementary. You know, I don't doubt that it was.
Yeah.
I remember that class. It was just between recess and lunch.
Well, why don't you go away?
Why don't you relax?
Please go away.
I'm just having fun with my new friend, that's all.
But we could have a problem?
No, there's no problem here. I was just hoping you might give me some insight into the evolution of the market economy in the southern colonies. My contention is that prior to the Revolutionary War, the economic modalities, especially in the southern colonies, could most aptly be characterized as agrarian pre-capital.
All right. Of course, that's your
Hang on a
contention.
second.
You're a first-year grad student. You just got finished reading some Marxian historian, Pete Garrison, probably. You're going to be convinced of that till next month when you get to James Lemon, and you're going to be talking about how the economies of Virginia and Pennsylvania were entrepreneurial and capitalist way back in 1740. That's going to last until next year. You're going to be in here regurgitating Gordon Wood.
As a matter of fact, I won't, because Wood drastically underestimates the impact
Wood
of social.
drastically underestimates the impact of social distinctions predicated upon wealth, especially inherited wealth. You got that from Vickers. Were you going to plagiarize the whole thing for us? Do you have any thoughts of your own on this matter? Or is that your thing? You come into a bar, you read some obscure passage, and then pretend you pawn it off as your own idea just to impress some girls? Embarrass my friend? See, the sad thing about a guy like you is in 50 years, you're going to start doing some thinking on your own, and you're going to come up with the fact that there are two certainties in life. One, don't do that. And two, you dropped 150 grand on a case you could have got for $1.50 in late taxes at the public library.
So you got Will, the poser, exposing the other poser frat boy, who is exposing the other poser, Chucky.
Right.
So you see it all there. And, sadly, that's what we see a lot in culture. A lot of people are just, that's overt. You can usually see things a lot better in a movie than you can. Ours may be a little bit more refined or developed or hidden or whatever, but posing's there. And again, it's just the point where for the longest time, I didn't realize how I was. There was times when I think I've told you, this is an example. There was a variety of things. I would assert myself in work and try to be the smartest guy in the room. That's a common thing. You're competing with all these people who have knowledge and all, and do that. But then if I would be out and I would see somebody that I hadn't seen in a long time, and I wasn't dressed the way I wanted to, or I just didn't want to be bothered or whatever, they'd be going down one aisle, and I could have reached out and said something to them. Now I go the other way. That's another pose. A variety of things that you do to avoid being yourself. And if you're not confident in who you are, if God's not healed your heart, why would you? But if you allow him to expose your pose, and you allow him to heal that and to get back to who you are, then you look up for those opportunities, because again, your glory is showing, and it's not yours. He's shining through you, and you want to You know, you want to be around people. You want to, and again, you have your introvert and extrovert and where you get your energy from and that kind of thing, but you can still be that type of person, yet allow God's glory to come out. He made you uniquely in a way. And I just don't want anything. This is my desire to be live as true and real as I possibly can in the way He created me, because I know that's where the most freedom and the most joy and the most feeling of purpose that I'll get is if I actually live real and true.
So you can forget the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the movie Jerry Maguire, and we use these clips from because again they bring hope to the healing of the situation that as you're actually very funny.
He's
put the camera on me. That Jerry Maguire has gone through work and looks like he's extremely successful, but he's being eaten alive because he knows that he's actually harming his clients. He's really not taking care of them, and God disrupts him and that's what God's going to do with all of us by this little boy who catches him, not taking care of his father's health because he keeps getting all these concussions, and he says, "Oh, your dad can handle it. He can play," and he was posing, and the little kid got really mad at him because of that. And when he saw himself, right, that all of a sudden you see in the mirror how ugly that these poses can become, and it totally disrupted him to where he had a moment where God dismantled him so that he could rebuild who he really wanted to be and rethink and structure his life in a way that, and it's a beautiful movie from that standpoint that gives us hope that when God does that, He also provides a way out, like it says in Scripture, that way out is Him, is seeing where He would guide you through that very difficult struggle to become who we are.
Yeah, one of the most painful things that'll happen to you is having your toes exposed, right? But one of the most gracious things that God does is He has that happen, whether He orchestrates it or He allows it to happen, so that you can find healing and that you can find the true self underneath. It's one of the most painful things, but honestly one of the kindest things that He ever does for your heart, because you get to learn more about you and learn more about Him in the midst of that, and it brings you closer together.
Even realize it.
Yeah, absolutely, in that process.
Very rarely will we realize it and take action on ourselves. I mean, it takes some kind of exposure, and usually He's the one exposing it. If He's not directly involved in it, He's definitely indirectly involved in it. Somebody else. I hesitate to say that because I don't really know what's going on, and it's probably all orchestrated by Him. I'm just saying sometimes somebody will say something that may seem random that gets your attention, or speak into that. Did He use that person, or was it just from Him? I have to say that He's using that person, but I don't know. I'm rambling here.
I think the longer you walk with Him in this topic,
thank you.
Right, the longer you do it, the less that He needs to do a big disruption.
Yeah, true.
And more the Holy Spirit prompts you. Yeah. And you'll go, "Oh, I was not genuine there," and it'll bother you at your core, right? And you go, "Okay, I don't want to be that way. I've lived that way." And it becomes more of an internal disruption than an external disruption. And there are a lot of times I still feel that at times. And honestly, for me, one big thing that He helped me get away from is I felt like I had to be an expert in my industry, right? I've done the same thing for 40 years now. I work in an industry you'll never master knowing all of it. Yeah. Right. And I just tell my clients very clearly when I meet with them that it's always my goal to give you the most correct answer I can. But even though I've done it for 40 years, don't be surprised if a lot of times I have to say, "I'll get back with you." Yeah. Right. I need to go research this some more, because I've learned through very hard times of having to recant things that I said without doing the research that was wrong, and then make myself look really stupid, that I don't want to do that. And what I find in being authentic with people and saying, I really don't know as much about that. I had this happen about 2 months ago. One of my clients sells metal roofs for a living, and we put a section of metal roof on a house now in the community I'm in. I don't know a lot about metal roofs. In most of my career, I've never done that. I've done tile, I've done asphalt, never done metal roofs. And So he was asking me questions. I'm like, look, I know you know more than I do. I'm gonna have to research this stuff. But one of the good things that was really cool that happened from that, when he sent in his survey, not just to me, but he did a Google review on the thing, he talked about just how much he appreciated the honesty of, saying, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. That people appreciate authenticity more than anything when you're genuine with it. God's really helped me see how to do that in my work area. Where he needs to help me grow is in my personal life some more. I think I'm very genuine for the most part, with the exception of if something's bothering me, I'm not the quickest to share it sometimes when I really should share it more. Or if I'm not feeling good, I don't tell people as much as I should. And people ask and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. When I'm really not, because sometimes you just don't want to get into that conversation, and it's a form of hiding, and this is even with people that I know love me deeply and dearly. And that's the current area God's working on my heart to say, look, you need to be more authentic with these people around you. I have them around you for a reason.
Yeah, and one of the opportunities we want to make sure is that by coming to a boot camp and being in that environment and having this talk and just being there alone with God, watching these movie clips, where you don't just hear them, you're actually seeing them, and you're hearing the guy from the stage, and they're going to hit you with these questions, and then you're going to go out in the woods, out there with God, and you're going to have a covenant of silence where you can sit down with God and have a real chat. And I can't tell you the healing we have seen, all of us, through our own stories, but also through other men that we've had the joy to, work with, of this particular talk having gigantic breakthroughs in people's walk with God.
Yeah, this is one of the linchpin things that you've got to be able to get through this part to get to the deeper meat and the deeper stuff underneath.
Yeah, to get to the wound, you have to dismantle the pose. I think
you do, right? Yeah, and then to see spiritual warfare more clearly, you have to see how you've been attacked, right? And that they all kind of build again on one another, and they're all intertwined.
One of the things that, to your point, Robbie, about the boot camp is certainly you get along with God and begin to ask him, how do you pose? And maybe, God will bring things to your mind and it'll be ding, 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 ding. But what helps also is you can relate to the guys and the stories that you hear from the stage and people being authentic. And it has been freeing to get up there on the stage and talk about my worst stuff.
Right.
Because that disables the enemy. If you tell it, he can't hold that against you any longer. It's out there, and there's freedom that comes from that. But that's like ripping off the fig leaf.
Right. One of the most common things we hear in the surveys we do after boot camp, we just ask them two questions: how did God come after you, and how can we pray for you? One of the things we hear more frequently, we hear amazing stories about God and what He did, but when it talks about us, it's about we really appreciate the authenticity. I knew I could be myself because I saw others being themselves. And that's what we'd invite you to do. Come be yourself with us. Be yourself with God, more importantly. Go to masculinejourney.org to register for the upcoming boot camp. It's coming up November 20th through 23rd in Royston, Georgia. Beautiful, beautiful location. We'd love to have you there with us. If you need help with finances, let us know. We'll help you get there, and we'll talk with you next week.